Meet Tarrare, the man who had an appetite so large and insatiable that he devoured everything in his path, from live cats to rocks, to pretty much anything that was fair game. But what drove Tarrare to eat everything in sight? Well, to answer that, let's start from the beginning. Tarrare was born in Lyon, France in 1772 to his peasant parents who were quite overjoyed at his arrival. Until they weren't, when they realized he was a peculiar kid with a broken appetite. As a child, Tarrare would eat anything and everything he could lay his hands on, and by his teens, he could devour a quarter of a bowl, and it was at this time his parents finally grasped the gravity of the situation they were in. They also probably thought that if push came to shove, he'd probably eat them as well. So they kicked him out. Tarrare, left to fend for himself, resorted to scavenging for food, consuming anything edible he could find. Well, anything he considered edible at least. Despite his excessive consumption, Tarrare remained surprisingly thin, as his body seemed to absorb food at a rate that would make most Americans jealous. Get it? Cause Tarrare was described as having an abnormally wide mouth, and it is said that when he had not eaten, his skin would hang so loosely that he could wrap it around his waist if he wanted to. He also stank. Tarrare moved to Paris later on, where he landed a job as a street performer. He was quite successful at his job, as he grew crowds that watched in delight as he devoured corks, stones, live animals, and an entire basket full of apples. Everything seemed to be going great, but on one occasion his act went wrong and he suffered intense intestinal obstruction. Luckily for him, members of the crowd were kind enough to take him to the hospital, where he was given powerful laxatives that helped him do what my mind refuses to imagine. After he made a full recovery, he offered to demonstrate his art by eating the surgeon's watch and chain, and the surgeon was like, "If you did that, I will cut you open to recover my stuff. So just put the money in the bag, bro." In 1792, during the War of the First Coalition, Tarrare enlisted for the French Revolutionary Army, where despite being given quadruple the standard military ration, still remained hungry. So he ate garbage and carried out tasks for other soldiers in exchange for a share of their rations. Tarrare was admitted to a military hospital after suffering from extreme exhaustion. He was ordered to remain in the hospital in order to take part in some experiments, one of which involved Tarrare devouring a meal prepared for 15 laborers. On another occasion, he was presented with a live cat. So naturally, he tore the cat's abdomen with his teeth, drank its blood, and proceeded to eat the entire cat from its bones, before vomiting its skin and fur. The hospital staff, after witnessing such a disturbing scene, naturally offered him a variety of more animals to eat. Animals like snakes, lizards, puppies, and an eel, which Tarrare swallowed without chewing. After several months passed, in an attempt to exploit Tarrare's unique abilities, the French military assigned him a secret mission. He was tasked with swallowing important documents and delivering them through his stool to a French general imprisoned in a Prussian prison. He was captured on his first try. Tarrare was beaten and subjected to a mock trial, which obviously left him traumatized and disturbed on his return to France. After this traumatic experience, Tarrare agreed to undergo any procedure that might cure his appetite. Long story short, they all failed. Also, the doctors couldn't control his diet, so he went on to eat some more questionable things. Questionable things like animal guts that were found in gutters, garbage heaps, and outside the shops of butchers. Tarrare also attempted to drink the blood of other patients in the hospital during bloodletting. He also attempted to eat the corpses in the hospital's morgue. The hospital was probably okay with letting all these slide. Then Tarrare went and ate a baby. Allegedly. And that was the last straw, so they kicked him out. 4 years later, Tarrare returned to the hospital, weak and bedridden. Tarrare believed that a golden fork he swallowed 2 years ago was lodged in him and causing him his weakness. But the doctor quickly disproved that and diagnosed him with tuberculosis. A month later, he suffered from continuous bloody diarrhea, dying shortly afterwards.